Hello, my fellow gnomes. I'm down here in the bottom right-hand corner, and I have got 3 different versions of me on all these different screens because we have got a spectate system, and they're all watching me right now, but we can go and we can cycle through all the different players, and we can exit out of this, go back to our own player. This is a neat little spectate system. It's actually pretty straightforward to get this set up, and if you want to find out how to do it, then follow along and I'll show you how. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is add in some UI for ourselves. We're going to start a GUI, and you're going to need to go and create a screen GUI with some buttons. Now, I've already actually made one earlier, so I can just go and paste that one in right now. And here we go, we got a Spectate GUI, and we see there's this little button at the bottom of the screen, and I've got a frame called FRM Spectate. And if I toggle this to visible, you can see we just have these 2 buttons and a little text label inside. So it's a very basic UI. That's all there is. You can go and make your own little version of this, but just to save a bit of time, I've created it beforehand. But let's go and create a script for ourselves, local script. We'll name this local spectate, and let's start writing this thing. So first off, at the top, we're going to need the players service because we're going to need to be accessing all of the players. And then we're going to need to reference stuff in our GUI. So the GUI is script.parent. We're going to need to access this button to toggle. So local btn toggle equals GUI wait for child btn toggle. We're going to need the frame as well. I like using these little sort of acronym or contractions for my different objects in the UI, just so I can sort of keep track. Oh yes, this one's a frame, this one's a button. I just find it helps me, but obviously you don't have to do things that way. And then we just need to reference all of the objects inside of our frame. So that's all of the objects we're going to want to reference. 2 more things though is we need the camera, which is at workspace.currentCamera, and we also need to get my player, like the local player, which is just equal to players.localPlayer. It just makes it a little bit easier to reference. And first things first, we're just going to get our UI working. So very basic, let's create a function for ourselves called toggle spectate, and that'll have a parameter called enable, which can sort of like a state to turn it on or off. And we want frame.visible to be equal to this parameter, or the data that's passed in, and we're going to tell it whenever we toggle that button. So btn toggle.activated, connect that into a function. Now we could call this, one with true, another one with false. You wanted to have 2 different buttons, but what we want to do is just set to the opposite of whatever it currently is. So I can say frame.visible to see if it's visible or not, and then I can send not frame.visible. And if I wanted, I could just do this on this line here. I'm not going to, because I might want to call toggle spectate from sort of different places. And so it's nice having different options of doing it. Maybe I want to call it from event or something like that. But that's how we're going to set this up here. And if I click my spectate button, I'm going to have that these 2 buttons appear, and the frame, it doesn't do anything at the moment, but we can toggle it on and off. And maybe it'd be nice to have the button itself change when we press it. So we could say, if we are enabling it, then we want the btn toggle.text to be equal to exit. Otherwise, if we're turning it off, then that means you want to be ready to toggle it again. So we'll set it back to spectate. So now we can see it switches between exit and spectate. Cool. So next, let's try and play about with the camera. So we'll create a function called watch player, and we're going to want to send a index to this, which might seem a little bit strange, but what we're going to do is we're going to have a table of all the watchable players. It's going to be blank initially, and we're going to have a watch index to keep track of who we want to watch. Initially, that's going to be equal to 1. And we're going to want to loop through all of the players. But before we do that, let's just show you how this works. So inside of here, I could say camera.camera type, and I could set this to what's called an enum. It's essentially just built-in values on Roblox we can use. So camera type dot, and I'm going to set that to fix it in place. And then inside of my else statement, when we are disabling the spectate, we want to set this back to the default, which funnily enough, the default is custom. A little bit odd, but that's what it is. And we're going to need to reset the camera subject as well. So we're going to need to get the player's character. Local character will be equal to myplayer.character. Sometimes they might not have one loaded though, so we'll need to say character added and wait for it to load in. And then we want to get their humanoid character, wait for child humanoid. And once we have their humanoid, we can set the camera.camera subject equal to the humanoid as well. So now if I'm playing the game, and if I toggle the spectate button at any time, it might look the same, but if I start to move, no, that's not done anything, because we haven't called our watch player method, have we? So if we are enabling it, then let's make sure we're calling watch player, and let's just send this global watch index variable to it. I know it's not doing anything yet, but we will in a moment. So let's hit play, and now if we hit spectate, it looks the same, but if I start moving away, there we go. You can see our camera is fixed in place. We can drag it around using the right mouse button, but it's not following our player anymore. And if we hit exit, we'll snap back to our player. Cool. So now we want to actually look through who else is in the game and who can we attach our camera to rather than just our own humanoid. So let's delete this line and let's loop through all of the players. So for player in player service, get players do, and let's check if we already know about them. So local player record, and we're going to table.find and search through the watchable players table and see if we already have this player in question. Now, if we don't have this player, and we need to check that they're not the same user ID as us. So myplayer.userid, we want that to be not equal to the player.userid that we just found within the players get players table. Then, in fact, maybe we'll just do this on its own line up here, right up at the top. We could say if the player we found, if their user ID is the same, so equals, then continue n. So actually just a little guard clause, this is called. So we're just ignoring and not doing the rest of this code. We're continuing through in the loop. So hopefully we're going to get a couple of players. And if on our first index of that table, it is us, then we're going to ignore it and go to the second and third one. So now if we haven't got a player record, then we want to add them. So table.insert into watchable players, and we add in that player. So then outside of our loop down here, let's just check. Maybe we didn't actually find any watchable players. So if hashtag watchable players, the total amount, if that's equal to 0, then there's obviously nobody to watch. So we could just do a little warn, say no players to watch. We could call the toggle spectate function. We'll set it to false this time, and then just return and exit out of this. So now if we click play, we've not actually got anyone else to spectate. So if I hit it, I'm just going to get this no players to watch function, and nothing's going to happen. Maybe you'd like to sort of disable this button if there's no one else, but we're not going to worry about that just now. So instead, let's carry on assuming that there are some other players in the game, and we're going to try and get a target to watch. The target is equal to all of the watchable players table, and then we want to index it with the index that's going to get sent to this function. Now we need to check that target exists. So if there is not a target at that index, or maybe there's not a target.character, then we could warn no such target, and we could again probably just want to exit and return out of here. So that's a couple more guard clauses, but now we know that we do have someone to watch and they do have a character and everything. So let's set our txt player, and we're going to set the text of that equal to our target.name. We could use the display name, but I'm going to go with the name. And then we want to get their humanoid just like we did down here. So in fact, we can sort of copy these 3 lines and go here. And now we want to get the target.character, wait for child humanoid. Ensure we're still using a custom type, and set the subject to humanoid, or our target's humanoid rather. So in order to test that this works with a few more players, we're going to go to the test tab, And we're going to create a little virtual service for ourselves. This one over here. So we click start, and that's going to load up some new windows for us. We've got this server window here without any players on it. And then I'm just loading in a new window with a second player. There we go. So I've now got these 2 players in the game. They're both me, bit scary. And if I click the spectate, we can see I'm now spectating this guy over here, which is the one I'm playing at. So I can move it on this screen, and I'm going to keep spectating him. And if I exit, I go back to my own player. Now, none of these buttons do anything at the moment. And if I'm spectating and say the guy, it looks like Roblox have broken my reset buttons. But if I was to reset my character, our camera would get stuck in place, a bit like on the fixed camera mode. So we want to watch out for that too. So let's clean up and let's make sure that our buttons work and we control for the character dying. So let's say humanoid.died. We can connect that into a function, and we probably just want to remove them from the table. So table.remove watchable players and remove the player. Sorry, not the player, but the player at the watch index. Now, when we're connecting functions like this, it's important that we make sure we're disconnecting them as well. So if I create a global and we call this death connection, initially that's going to be equal to 0. But whenever we set up a new event connection, we can make it equal to that. And then at the very top of our watch player function, we can check if we have an existing connection, then let's disconnect it, because we don't want to have a bunch of connections hanging about the place. So now let's use our button next and button previous. So down at the bottom, button next.activated, connect that into a function, and we're going to call watch player, and we can increment the watch index +1. So wherever the current index is, let's go 1 higher. Let's see if they exist. And for the previous, we're going to do exactly the same thing, really. Change this to button previous and watch index -1. Then we've just got to make sure in our watch player function that somebody actually exists at that index. Because if we're currently at 1 and we try to go to like 0 and -1 and stuff, well, that's not possible. There's no one in the table with those indexes. So we've got to do a bit of controlling for that. Just before we try and grab the target, let's say if our index is greater than the total amount of watchable players, then we want it to sort of cycle back round. So we'll set the watch index equal to 1. Else, if the index is less than 1, then we're going to loop it back round again, and we're going to set it equal to the total number of watchable players. But otherwise, if they've said, given an index of 3 and there's like 5 people that we can watch, then that's totally fine. So the watch index is just going to equal the index they've provided. And if the player that we're watching dies, well, why not let's call the watch player function again, and we can just try and send an index of 1. Go to the first player. And a little mistake up here, rather than using the index, we need to use the official watch index, because now we're filtering through the results. Let's make sure we're actually using what we've filtered rather than just whatever blindly has been given to the function. So now let's go and test once again. We're going to need to get up a bunch of different windows. So there we go. We've got our little army of gnomes. I'm just dragging these windows down so we can see what's going on a little bit better with so many different players, but I can go and play in any of these windows. And if I click the spectate button, I can view player 1, player 3, and player 4. And if I go right again, I'm going to loop back round to player 1. And let's see if we go and watch this guy over here. And let's say he goes and he resets his character. Then I'm going to immediately switch my camera back over to player 1. So I'm only following who's alive. And then I can loop back round. And of course, he's respawned in, so I can keep watching him. So there we go. We have our working spectate system. Pretty cool. Hopefully this helps you with your game. There's lots of different implementations of spectate systems, but this should give you a pretty good grounding of the kind of things you might want to do to get started. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!